Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is a brand new year. We have those goals. Many of us do anyway, and those resolutions, but how do we achieve those goals? We're going to help you with that. She is a certified mental health coach, a Christian life coach, and so much more. And Cheryl Hines is back with us. Hey, Cheryl, how you doing today?
I'm great, Steve. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. I just found this, and I wanted to share it with you. A poll leading up to New Year's found that 37% of us are planning to make resolutions this year. 17% of us said that they might. And here are the top 10 resolutions people are making for 2023. Save money, be healthier in general, work out more, eat better, lose weight. So interesting, 4 of the top 5 are about our health, right? Number 6 on the list, try to be happier in general. And we've got pay down debt. Number 8 is improve your mental health. How fantastic is that we're talking about that?
Yeah.
Number 9, spend more time with your family. And number 10, learn something new. So why do many of us not achieve our goals? We set those resolutions, but we don't get there. Why do you think that is?
Last week we talked about expectations and in what do we expect from ourselves? I've learned a long time ago, I don't set goals intentionally the first of the year because I know me and I know that I'm not going to do very well with them. I set goals throughout the year and then I work on reaching those goals. Part of, I think it is we set these goals and then we don't know how to follow through with them. We don't have a plan. We don't have somebody that we're accountable to help us hold us accountable to what we want to do. So I think we have great thoughts. And we can't think of the word I'm looking for. We have great goals. We have a great mindset. We think we're going to do this. We want to achieve this, and then life happens. And
Funny
then
you said that because this is the first year in a long time that I didn't set those resolutions. I have one. I gained a little bit of weight, minimal, but you have a certain spot where you feel more comfortable in, in terms of just feeling more healthier. So that's one of them, but it's not like I'm looking, okay, by February 1st, I got to be dropping X amount. It's going to be a work in progress. But in the back of my mind, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to do.
Yeah. You have a plan.
I have a plan and how I'm going to execute it in some regards, but I haven't, if I was more serious about some of these things, probably would be better to set the intention and come up with a framework and probably put it on paper. That's so impactful as well.
Right. I think creating a plan, we can have goals, but how are we going to accomplish those goals? What do we have to do? 1, 2, 3, and 4. What do we, okay. So, you mentioned weight and that's on the top 10. So losing weight, how are we going to do that? I know myself personally, I lost over 40 pounds, but I had to figure out that I was going to do this. I was determined I was going to do this. I was accountable to other people. And I used a program. I used Weight Watchers.
Sure.
And I had to do that in order to know what I was eating, how much I was eating, and in order to achieve my weight loss. So setting those goals, I knew I wanted to lose X amount of weight, setting that goal, but how was I going to do that? And I think that's a lot of times why we fail at setting when we set our goals. When we have a goal, we fail because we don't plan. I think there's a saying out there that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
it's so true.
If we fail to plan, we're going to plan to fail, and it's the same way with goal setting.
And even the intention and the expectation what are the reasonable expectations? If somebody's thinking that, yeah, this year I'm going to lose 40, maybe not the most reasonable. Is it
Mm-hmm.
possible? Of course. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how long it took you. You didn't share, in that 40 that you lost. Um, it may not have been a year, maybe take a little bit longer than that. But and everybody's different. So somebody may say,
Right.
I'm lucky if I can do 10,
Right.
in 6 months.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's reasonable expectations on ourselves makes a big difference too.
Exactly. And I like that. Reasonable expectations. We talked about that last week. If we set the goals and it's not achievable, um, and then we're going to plan to fail. Um, it's I would love to go walking, but I know me. And I know that if I don't have somebody that I can walk with, I'm
Mm.
not going to walk. So I could set a goal as walking every day, for half an hour every day or 3 times a week for half an hour. I don't have a plan in place. So I might as well not plan it because I know that it's not going to be accomplished. And I think it's that same way with so many of us that we set these goals every year, New Year's resolution, and it sounds great, but how are we going to achieve that? And I know with sobriety, you have to have accountability partners. You have to have a sponsor. You have to have somebody that you communicate with, that you reach out to. So if you're talking about wanting to achieve sobriety in whether it's a chemical addiction or whether it's overspending or whether it's anger or, whatever it is, if you don't set a plan, and then you don't have those people in place to help you walk through to your journey, you're gonna have a struggle, a lot more struggle than what you would have in the first place. So having that accountability person, like I said, to walk every day or a couple times a week, it's not happening. So I don't even set a goal to do that because I know that I'm not going to do it.
And I think what you said there, Cheryl, is so powerful that you can't do it. I mean, we can do anything we want, but it's not one of those things that, well, that's going to come easy. If you don't have the partner, if you don't have all of that with you. I mean, I have a friend lives in South Carolina, and she walked every single day, maybe half hour, lost a lot of weight and
Mhm,
got healthier. But she used to walk with people as well, and it kind of
mhm.
became a social thing. If you don't have that infrastructure built in to achieve your goal, like you said, and that was part of her plan. Yeah, every night we're going to have, a healthy dinner, and then we're all going to take a walk, around the neighborhood or whatever it might be.
Right, right. Yeah, and I when I lived overseas, I had different women that I walked with, and it
Mm.
was great. But it was, I knew that they relied on me, and they knew that I relied on them. So every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time it was, I don't
Uh,
remember. It was many years ago. I met with them, and I would go over to their house because it was easier for them. I had older children. I would go over to their house, and we would walk, but we relied on each other and depended on each other to help us to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And so
mm.
that's why it's so important, I think, when we set goals. How are we going to do that? What is the plan we have in place in order to set the goal, to accomplish the goal? I can easily say I'm going to go walking every day, but I don't have a plan.
Right.
And so I might as well not plan it. And so it's that goal setting every single day that we have. What are we doing? How are we going to do it? What is the end result that we want to have? Looking at a big picture, not a small picture. And then what happens, Steve, so many times is when we set this goal and we have this resolution, and we have this New Year's resolution, and it's this huge thing, and then we fail at it. Then what happens? We then think that we go back to the thought of, yeah, I can't even keep a simple New Year's resolution to
Yeah.
quit smoking. or to go on a walk or to lose weight, and then we feel like we failed. So, I think we have to have those things in place in order to figure out how to do that. And that goes back to having different mental mindset as well. I think it was number 8, and building
Yeah,
mental health. Yeah.
better. It was improve your mental health.
Improve your mental health.
Yeah.
So how are we going to do that? I mean, what exactly does improving my mental health look like?
That's a really good point. When we think about that, maybe some of us would have an answer, others may not.
Mm-hmm.
Only you can define it within yourself. But if you don't know what the answer is, maybe you should talk to somebody like you, to figure out, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, what do I want to do? What do I define? I'm starting to work not only as a Christian life coach, but as a certified mental health coach, but I'm also working now as a recovery coach. So I've got a lot of hats. And the girls that I'm working with right now, they come from a women's 1-year rehab here in the northern Indiana area. And every one of these girls because it's a women's, so every one of these girls that I'm meeting with, or ladies that I'm meeting with, one of the things that they have talked about is low self-esteem, low identity. That falls right into the reason that they did the addiction to begin with. That falls into why, the hurts of their past that led them to the addictions. I mean, we've talked about this before. Nobody wakes up one day and says, okay, I'm going to be an addict today. I'm choosing to be an addict. So that mental health, what is it that you're struggling with in the mental health? Are you struggling with self-esteem, your identity, with work, with family? What are you struggling with in the mental health aspects of life that you want to change? And until you figure out that piece of mental health that you want to work on, you can say it all day long. But until you really know what it is, it sounds good on paper. But what are we working towards? What are we going to accomplish?
Now you just mentioned, Cheryl, and I want to go back on this for just a moment, because I hear it all the time, and especially with women that resort to substance abuse to cope, all usually say the same thing: low self-esteem, have low confidence. Why does that happen? And it seems to be a common theme, like you just said. You hear that all the time. Why did it? I'm trying to get my arms around it because it seems to be so prevalent.
Why does it happen that they use?
No, why is they speak so much about low self-esteem, lack of confidence, and of course, then they resort to using something to cope with that. But that seems to be the center, at least what I'm hearing, of why the addiction takes place.
So many different reasons why you would have low self-esteem. I'll use me as an example. I've shared some of my story. I grew up in a good Christian home. I had great parents. I have a great story, family-wise. But yet I was a typical middle child. And I didn't know where I fit into this middle child. And so my parents didn't know how to speak my love language. They didn't know that, they didn't know anything about love languages 57 years ago. So they didn't know how to meet me where I most needed to be met. So for me, my self-esteem was built around the fact that I didn't know where I fit in. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my identity. I didn't know my gifts, my strengths, my abilities. So for me, that's my story. But so many of the women that come from addictions have a different story of abuse, have a different story of abandonment or neglect, or they're that abusive part of it, the put downs, the name calling, or they grew up in an alcoholic or an addictive home. And so they see how other people coped with their addictions. And so they think, oh, well, that's what you do when you don't know how to handle life. You turn to a substance of your choice. So there's so many different reasons that we can point to and unpack, because not every story is the same.
Do you think for you in that situation, being the middle child and the dynamics with your parents, um, do you think it was something that was in your subconscious, like something deep seated, and it kind of fueled you along the way as you grew up?
Possibly. See, my older sister, is not even 2 years older than me. And then my brother came along 11 months after I did. So, I didn't have that time on my mom's lap, I guess, per se. She didn't intend to. She had 3 small children under the age of 3. And so, she had a 2-year-old, 11-month-old, and a newborn. She did what she had to do, and she did the best that she could. But I was that middle child who unfortunately got pushed off the lap, and not out of hate for me or just, love, anything. It was just life circumstances. My mom always said that I always gravitated towards men. And I think it was because my dad stepped in and he filled a place that my mom couldn't because of where she was at. Just as a mom. And so dad took, he filled in that gap. And so I think subconsciously, not even knowing, could very well be that it had something to do with, at the age of 11 months, feeling and sensing that there wasn't space for me.
Now you said that
and again,
you gravitated toward men, relationships with men as you were growing up as a
yes,
result of your father stepping in. So I'm guessing it was more, you felt comfort there because
yes,
he's the one that gave you comfort. Is that what he did?
my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's a great dad. He is an amazing dad. I mean, if I wanted a glass of water in the middle of the night, I don't know how old I was, but I remember clearly calling for my dad. I'm thirsty, I want water. And dad would get up and go get me a glass of water. Or if I had a leg cramp, dad would get up and he would put liniment oil on my leg. And that was dad. Now, I asked later on, years later, why he did that. And he said that my mom would get up and she would do that as well. But he found a long time ago, she couldn't go right back to sleep. And so she'd wake him up and she'd want to talk until she was ready to go back to sleep. And so dad just decided,
it was just easier.
I can get up. I can do this and I can, but that was my dad. My dad taught us how to work. My dad taught us, I had a great dad. I still do. They're both still living.
What an interesting, I'm fascinated here, Cheryl. What an interesting situation, because your belief was that your mom wasn't giving you the attention and focus in that situation. And maybe there was other situations involved and that it was your dad doing it. But then you later learned in life that, no, your mom just didn't want to get up, and tough to go back to sleep. And then she would want to talk and he just wants to go back to sleep. But it's funny as kids what we internalize, right? That what we think is true, what we think is
right.
true.
Right. And so, then when I married my children's dad, I thought that is how all men, all fathers responded to their children. And I very quickly realized that is not really how all fathers respond to their children. Yeah. It's just, you just don't ever know why we respond how we respond.
Yeah.
I can have 2 women that might have the very same story, and one of them works hard. One of them is an overachiever. She goes to college, she works. And then you have another one who turns to a substance abuse, or turns to substance to medicate, to cope. So what is that inner drive? And I think part of it also goes back to the personalities of how God has made us, going back to the real you personality. What is that inner drive? For me, I'm a red blue. I know how to do it. I can see it. I can do it. And then there's other people that they're intimidated. They're quiet. They're that yellow green. They're that peacekeeper. They don't want to make waves. And so they stuff it. And as they stuff it, then they don't know how to cope. And then if they don't know how to cope, then they turn to medicating because they don't know how to cope. So lots of different pieces to unpack and understand, and the whole picture of who the person is. As a coach, I can't just focus on, okay, they're an addict. Now, why are you an addict? Stop it. Get over it. Don't do that anymore. I have to look at the whole picture. What's your childhood like? Where are you at in the flow of your family dynamic? What is your personality like? What do you like to, what do you like about yourself? What don't you like about yourself? So unpacking everything, getting to the root, getting to the core of what it is that caused them to turn to the addiction, and then start unpacking that, and then really allowing God to bring healing to that place, to that broken place, and then from that broken place of healing, then they can start growing.
It seems like everything is important when you work with somebody. Every little detail. It's almost as if you're like a CSI investigator. Really?
Never thought about it, but yeah.
But it's like you're looking for clues and putting them all together to come up with what led to that situation. But again,
Right.
every little thing is important when you work with somebody.
Right. That's why, as a coach, we're taught to have intuitive listening. I mean, I used to always, when somebody was telling me a story, oh yeah, well, I remember that, and I can relate to that because this is my story, and I can, now that intuitive listening. Okay, I see. What I'm hearing, and we're taught we're not even supposed to use the word I, but so what you're saying is that you don't know how to set boundaries. What about setting boundaries is hard for you? What about setting boundaries frightens you? And then they might say, well, I'm afraid, that they're going to get mad at me. So it's not as much the boundaries as what it is the response to you when you set the boundary. Yeah. Okay. So, and then talking about, can you control? Can you handle you're powerless. Can you do anything about the responses that they're going to give you? No. Okay, so in essence, what you're saying is you're powerless over the responses that somebody responds to you in regards to, but you're not powerless over the boundary that you have to set. It's like that totally unpacking of that gives them that aha moment of realizing, wow, it's okay to set a boundary. It's okay to set a healthy boundary. And I can't control how they're going to respond to that healthy boundary. It's on them. It's on the other person, how they respond, not on me.
But you know what? It's all there. And I look at it also as if it's like watching a TV show and they're shooting it all this way, but then you're the camera focusing in a different direction, making them see it in a different way. Like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Right. It's like yesterday. One of the gals that I was talking to, just asking her questions and how, where she got to, where she's at in life. And one of the things she was talking about was low self-esteem.
Mm.
And she made mention of something. And I said to her, I said, wow, I said, that is amazing. You accomplished something. And her countenance changed because of her never really thinking about the choice she made was a good choice. And she was thinking about making a good positive change. And she never thought about that was a good choice that she had made.
Wow.
It's redirecting that thought process. Like you said, taking the camera from one point of view and directing it to another point of view and having her look at it in a totally different perspective. I told her, I said, I'm so proud of you. And she said, for what? I said, well, look at what you've accomplished. Look at what you've done to better yourself.
We should all do that, Cheryl. We should all, even the little things that we overlook because we're on autopilot, those things that we've accomplished, maybe they've been big things, maybe in 2022 that because you went through a situation and maybe it took a while that you don't realize what you did. But, when I'm thinking of them right now, it's like, I'm gonna be blunt, like, holy blank, actually did that, got through that, moved past that.
Right.
And I'm gonna share with you, getting divorced. My daughter is 14 and lives with me, and I'm the dad that gets her the glass of water.
Okay.
Just like your dad.
Yeah.
Because when you said that, I'm like, yeah, that's me, in the middle of the night. She can get up and get it herself, but I'm fine getting it. It's okay. It's okay.
And you've accomplished that, Steve.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you go. That is an amazing thing that you're doing for your daughter. And you are setting a memory for your daughter that she will always cherish.
And it ain't done yet. There's a long road ahead, but yeah.
Yeah. But, taking that divorce in that broken spot of your life, and I'm sure, just like any divorce, it's had challenges. It's been difficult. But taking that camera and, turning it around and thinking, I've done this. I've accomplished this. I have set this goal. I have, you and I had talked about something a couple weeks ago in regards to your daughter, and you're the one that was looking for that for her. And I don't know if you remember that conversation or not, but there was, you're the one that was looking for that. You're the one that understood that she needed to have that. And so good for you. If we can learn to shift that camera from that, well, I didn't accomplish this, to even it's a small thing, I've accomplished this. What that does is that builds on that self-esteem, that builds on that confidence, that builds on that. If I can do this little thing, I can do this thing that's a little bit bigger, possibly. And what that does is that also helps build the mental mindset. It also helps build us in a place of confidence and renewing of our thoughts, our minds, our bodies, our spirits. It's focusing on the glass half full, not half empty.
Celebrate the little wins.
Celebrate the little wins.
Even the littlest thing. Your day could be just like, it's okay, just another day. And then you could have this little thing that pops up that worked out really well. But in perspective, it's like, whoa, that was actually pretty good. That felt good, and it's the little stuff. We're out of time. I wish we had a little more time. actually overtime. It's a year. It's go time. It's 2023, and unpack that stuff with you. What's your website again?
insightlifecoaching.coachsolutions.cc.
Yeah. You make people feel good too. You really do.
I try, I would love to just have anybody call me. I have a phone number, 574-501-3361. reach me on my website. Let me walk a journey with you.
Yeah.
Let me help unpack some of the truths of your life and focus on those positive things, and possibly unpack some of the ugly things too.
I'm
And
glad you said that. Yeah. Oh, the mistruths, the things that you have in your head that you
Yeah.
believe to be true, but they really aren't. But you've been carrying them on the backpack, for all this time. And it's time to
Yes.
unzip that thing. And it's 2023. Lose some of that stuff. It'll be lighter,
Right.
be easier to walk around. Cheryl, always a pleasure talking with you, and look forward next time we get
Likewise.
together.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.